Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we've got a very blunt, no-nonsense goal. We are going to break right out of passive victimhood. If you've been feeling stuck, kind of unmotivated, or just like life is happening to you while you sit on the sidelines, well, consider this your official wake-up call. We're going to strip away all those comfortable excuses, look really hard at our daily choices, and finally reclaim control over our actions.
So, we're pulling our insights today directly from a really powerful little guide called The Art of Laziness by Library Mindset. Now, just a heads up, this isn't your typical fluffy feel-good self-help manual. It is a harsh but honestly completely necessary reality check. The whole premise is super simple. You've got to stop making excuses, stop waiting for the perfect moment, and absolutely stop wasting your potential. It's all about overcoming that urge to procrastinate and taking radical control of your time.
Okay, let's dive into this. Look at that number right there, 3,700. If you were lucky enough to live an average global lifespan of about 72 years, your entire life is only 3,700 weeks long. That's the whole shebang. It might sound like a big number at first, but think about it. If you're 30 years old right now, you have already burned through 1,500 of those weeks. I'm not bringing this up to give you an existential crisis, I promise, but we need to be acutely aware that time is running out. The clock is literally ticking right now, and we do not have as much time as we love to trick ourselves into believing.
Fast forward a bit. Imagine you're 80 years old, sitting in a rocking chair, just looking back over your life. What are you going to regret? I guarantee you will absolutely regret a lifetime of being lazy. You're going to regret the endless hours wasted scrolling on social media with zero purpose. You'll regret sitting on the couch binge-watching shows instead of taking care of your health, or traveling, or doing the things you actually loved. Nobody who ignores their true desires can ever be genuinely happy on the inside.
Paulo Coelho really captures the urgency we need here. One day you will wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you've always wanted to do. Do it now. We constantly tell ourselves this little lie that we're just waiting for the perfect time, right? We wait to start that business, to book that flight, to hit the gym. But honestly, waiting for the perfect time is the worst excuse of all. It's just laziness in a really good disguise. There is no perfect time. The absolute best time to do anything you've always wanted to do is right now.
All right, let's move into some tough love. Section 1. Take 100% responsibility. It's time to take control.
Here is the unvarnished truth. Absolutely nobody cares if you're lazy. Nobody cares if you procrastinate, and nobody is coming to save you. Pointing fingers at your friends, your family, your boss, or your circumstances for your lack of progress, it's a completely useless trap. Blaming others makes our minds feel good temporarily because it convinces us we're powerless, but that is a massive lie. As Winston Churchill noted, the price of greatness is responsibility. The reality is, our brains are wired to gravitate toward the easiest possible option. It is so much easier to stay glued to the couch than to go for a run. But you have to actively override that default setting. You must choose the best option for yourself, not just the easy one. Taking full responsibility means owning the fact that your future is entirely in the hands of the actions you take today.
And this brilliantly illustrates why relying on others is just a recipe for failure. There's this great parable of a sparrow raising her chicks in a wheat field. The farmer comes by and says, "Oh, I'll send my sons to harvest the wheat." The sparrow tells her chicks, "Don't worry, we're fine." The next week, the farmer comes back and says he'll hire laborers. Again, the sparrow tells the chicks they are perfectly safe. But finally, the farmer shows up and says he's wasted enough time relying on other people, and tomorrow he's going to cut the wheat himself. That's the exact moment the sparrow tells her chicks it's time to flee. The lesson? Waiting for saviors or depending on other people to get your stuff done always fails. You only get real results when you step up and do it yourself.
So, you have to ask yourself, which category do you actually fall into? Basically, the world breaks down into 3 types of people. The first is the vast majority. They never even start. They just sit there, paralyzed by laziness. The second type, they start, but the second things get a little difficult, they give up and just live with the regret. But then there's the third type, the rare 1%. They work incredibly hard, they persist through every obstacle, and they absolutely never give up. Life is a marathon, guys, and there are exactly 0 rewards for quitting halfway through.
Which brings us to our next major hurdle. Section 2. Escaping your comfort zone. A place where absolutely nothing grows.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this constant tug of war we deal with. Being too comfortable is the #1 reason we delay our lives until tomorrow. Every day it comes down to a choice between short-term pleasure and long-term value. Look, laziness feels fantastic in the present moment because it delivers this immediate dopamine hit. Lounging around watching movies all day feels amazing right now, but deep down, your body and mind subconsciously know you're wasting your precious time. You have to be willing to sacrifice that instant gratification and actually embrace the stress of doing something new if you want real long-term value and happiness.
A massive part of escaping that cozy comfort zone is speed. So often, we use planning or doing research as just another fancy form of procrastination. We fool ourselves into thinking we need a flawless plan before we can even start. But as Jeff Bezos explains here, if you're waiting for near 100% certainty, you're moving way too slowly. You need the urgency to execute right now. Your first plan is never ever going to work perfectly anyway. You're always going to have to make adjustments on the fly. So just jump in.
And when you do jump in, keep things remarkably simple. Seriously, you don't need a dozen complicated productivity apps. Honestly, those just drain your mental energy and become yet another excuse not to do the work. Instead, take a really low-tech, highly effective approach. Set clear, measurable goals. Saying, "I want to be healthy" is not a goal. Saying, "I want to lose 2 kilograms in 1 month," now that is a goal. Then, physically write them down on a real piece of paper. Reading clearly written goals creates this incredibly healthy sense of guilt if you ignore them, and that practically forces you out of your complacency.
Now, as soon as you leave your comfort zone and start moving quickly, you are going to make mistakes. That is 100% guaranteed. But mistakes aren't the enemy here. As George Bernard Shaw points out, making a mistake is totally fine. The real failure is just hitting replay and making that exact same error a second time. Don't sit there frozen in fear of getting things wrong. Take the hit, learn the lesson, and maintain your forward momentum. If you aren't moving forward after a mistake, well, you're basically just making a second mistake.
And to stop fearing those outcomes, we really need to stop labeling every single event as strictly good or bad. Consider this rapid-fire parable of a farmer. His horse runs away. The villagers say, "Oh, too bad." But the farmer just says, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returns with 10 wild horses. "Great," say the villagers. "Maybe," says the farmer. Then the farmer's son breaks his leg trying to ride one, and the villagers cry, "Too bad." But the very next day, the army comes through drafting all able-bodied men for a war, and they spare the son because of his leg. Great, right? The point is, you never truly know where an event is going to lead, so don't let unexpected outcomes destroy your momentum. Just keep going.
Which perfectly sets up Section 3, the power of self-discipline. This is the ultimate antidote to laziness.
So the crucial point is, if you want to actually transform your life, motivation just isn't going to cut it. Motivation is fickle. It fades. Self-discipline is the actual engine that keeps you moving forward when that initial spark of excitement is gone and the cold reality of hard work sets in. It literally means doing the things that are good for your future, even when they're incredibly hard to do in the present. It means deliberately choosing the difficult task, waking up early, reading a book, going to the gym, grinding on that business, instead of just laying in a warm bed or melting into the couch. Every single meaningful improvement in your life requires doing something hard.
Let's move to this next slide and see how this builds into a bigger picture. The legendary Jim Rohn turned this into a fundamental philosophy of life. You basically have a choice between 2 pains, and you have to choose one. You can either suffer the temporary, productive pain of discipline right now, or you can suffer the permanent, agonizing pain of regret later on. By being lazy, sure, you might avoid the pain of discipline today, but make no mistake, you are guaranteeing a massive amount of pain and regret in your future.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with the harshest truth of all right now. I really want you to absorb this. There are no secret hacks. There are absolutely no magic tricks. Just passively learning about productivity isn't the same as actually doing the work. If you are lazy, it is your fault. If you're unhappy, it is your fault. If you're a chronic procrastinator, yep, it is your fault. But the beautiful flip side to that tough pill is that you have the total power to change it, which means you bear the total responsibility for your current state.
To really build that extreme urgency, just look at this striking quote from Pablo Picasso. "Only put off until tomorrow what you are willing to die having left undone." Treating tomorrow like some kind of infinite safety net is incredibly dangerous. Tomorrow is never ever guaranteed. If you keep pushing your dreams, your health, and your relationships off to tomorrow, you run the very real risk of reaching the end of your 3,700 weeks with your life's greatest work sitting there completely undone. And this brings us to the climax of our explainer. Section 4, start doing it right now. Taking risks is scary. Absolutely. No one is denying that. But jumping from a perfectly comfortable position into the unknown is mandatory if you want success. In a fast-moving world like ours, the biggest, most guaranteed failure is trying to stay perfectly safe and changing nothing at all.
So I want to leave you with this deeply provocative question. I want you to ask yourself this every single day when you feel that familiar laziness creeping back in. Will I regret not doing this in the future? If the answer is yes, then it simply must be done, no matter how hard it is. Accept the reality, stop waiting, stand up, take control of your time, and start making your life happen right now.